Okay. Good to see you, ladies. Good to see you. Thanks for being here for session number 2, the Black Professionals Month Mainstream to Top Tier Career Advancement Program. So we are going to be together for the next hour from 10 to 11. So good to see you, ladies. So good. Welcome to Saturday, October 9th. We are already to October 9th. Yes. Where's this month going already? You guys good?
All good.
All good. All right. Love to hear that. Love to hear that. So you can see my screen. We are recording. And I know we got some more. We're going to keep getting, which is great. More people joining us. Here is Precious. Let's let Precious in. Okay. All right, so let's jump right in. Good morning. Okay, let's give it a couple. I'm going to give it a couple minutes, ladies, because we have some folks coming in now. So let's give it just a couple minutes while we welcome some folks coming in who aren't going to get the benefit of my jazz music that started this session off. I love jazz and I like starting my day with jazz. So hopefully you guys do as well. Okay, here is Sam. Oh, we got Sam here. All righty. Let Sam in. Okay, good morning, Precious. Good morning, Sam. We have here Coach Cass. Good morning. Okay, it's Courtney. Desiree, Beverly. Here we go. Lisa, Pamela, good morning. Okay. All right, let's just jump right in. I'm sorry, because I'm going to be hearing folks coming in. So I'm going to be stopping every once in a while to let others come in and join us. But let's just jump right in to our session because we don't have a lot of time. So last week, and hopefully you guys all got my email yesterday. So last week we did talk about the primary factors that are blocking Black professionals. Today, we're going to talk about this, the personal brand attributes of leading Black professionals. And I do want to point out, before I forget, that my program, this 4-part series, BPM Mainstream to Top Tier, is sponsored by the Greater Boston Chamber of Commerce. So I thank them for their sponsorship and for making this possible. So today, much like we did last week, we have an activity, and what I did do for this week is I gave you guys a second activity. So we'll talk about that in a second. So we are going to end the session with another activity today. And then just as a reminder, next week, we're going to focus on career pathing for Black professionals with an activity. And then the final session in this program is going to be focused on steps to advance to senior and executive leadership. And of course, there's going to be another activity. I do want to point out that there is a QR code at the bottom of this slide. That QR code will take you to a page that outlines the programs that my company, MDK Brand Management, offers. I offer a series of e-coaching programs that cover the ecosystem of a careerist, from launching your career, to developing your career, to advancing your career. And those of you who have been following Black Professionals Month and watching the videos and reading the information know that my background is mostly in corporate. I spent 25 years in corporate at big companies, Adidas, Reebok, Boston Scientific, Nintendo. And I held senior and executive level roles at those companies, including C-suite. And so I am taking everything I have from all the experience, the 25 years of being in these senior and executive level positions, and pouring them into my e-coaching programs. And so Mainstream to Top Tier is my signature program for MDK Brand Management. I've taken that signature program, which is a 10-week program that includes 5 modules and 5 live career coaching sessions with me, and I've customized it for Black Professionals Month. So what you are seeing, yes, there are bits and pieces, some nuggets that I've taken from my signature program and put to this program. But this program is not that program. There are just some bits and pieces. And of course, it's 4 weeks versus 10 weeks. So I do want to highlight that. But this QR code will take you directly to learning more about my program from MDK Brain Management. Okay. So, and this is also meant to be an interactive session per my note yesterday. There are no wallflowers in my coaching sessions, in my workshops, whether I'm working for a major corporation, Merrill Lynch, Bank of America is one of my clients, whether I'm on site teaching a bunch of employees there, or whether I'm doing virtual coaching programs, I do want all of my workshops, including this one, to be interactive. So with that, let's just dive right in. So personal brand attributes of leading Black professionals. Yes, so we're going to talk about those. Now, before we do, pre-workshop assignment, let's let Jonathan in. Okay, so I sent out an email yesterday to all of the executive members of BPM, which includes you, which you are. And I asked you to do this one project, which is to name an accomplished Black professional who projects him or herself in a way you admire and respect, and why. Because that's what we're going to talk about during the next hour, less than an hour, about those attributes. And we're going to talk about why those attributes are important. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop sharing for a moment so that we can see each other. And I'm going to ask a couple of you to share what you researched, what you found out. Okay, so with that, who would like to start? Because I'm very interested in hearing who you've identified as an accomplished Black professional who projects the qualities that you believe maybe help them reach their leadership status. Yeah, okay.
Cool. I can go first.
All righty. Hi, Zoe. Good morning, Zoe. Yes, who?
Good morning. I sent you an email, Denise, because I laughed when you used Oprah. Oprah was mine. In fact, I was listening to her when I was reading the email.
That is so funny.
For me, it was because she can maintain who she is and still get to the level that she was able to achieve. And I think for me, coming out of corporate, it means a lot to be able to just be myself and not have to morph into the person that's in the room that I'm speaking to. So I so admire that. And then to see the always think bigger come to fruition. That's something that I actually have a sticky note on my laptop that every time I have a thought, I think bigger. And I think she represents the epitome of what think bigger can achieve. So I would stop there and let everybody else share. Thank you.
Yeah, no, you're welcome. You're welcome. Authenticity is important. Remember, we touched on that when we talked about code sharing last week being one of the blocks, one of the factors that block Black professionals is the stress of not being able to share our authenticity when we're at work. And you're right, she is someone who's been able to push past that. And as you guys probably know her background, she had a very humbling beginning in her background. She had some challenges, some personal challenges in her background, and she was able to push through those as well. So great. He says, bright, good minds. See, Zoe, we think alike, because she is a great example of that. She's a great example of that. So thank you for sharing that. Who else?
Good morning, Denise.
Hey, Sam. Good morning. Good to see you again.
Yes, good to see you. So I didn't get the email, but I'm ready for the questions. So my person is Irvin Magic Johnson. He has an incredible character. He's very hardworking, and he competes with everything, but he has a humility about himself that he never forgets where he comes from. So I try every day to emulate myself after those characteristics and just to be a strong African-American business leader.
Thank you for that, Sam. And I couldn't have said it better. You mentioned emulate, and that's why I wanted you guys to do that assignment, because it is about that. It is about finding people who you respect, who you admire for certain qualities, and taking those qualities on yourself and seeing how you can learn from those people. In my workshops, I use the word stalking. It's like, it's not exactly stalking, but kind of it is. If you find someone who you admire, who you respect, follow them on social media, join join them in different, social, online, virtual activities and events, and see what they're doing, see how they're engaging with their audiences. There's nothing wrong with that. And it is a sign that you are looking to grow and thrive. If you find someone who has those qualities, you want to emulate them, which is a great word, Sam. So thanks for throwing that into the conversation. It is something that is absolutely a sign of leadership, that you recognize that there are other people who have something that you don't have, and you want to learn it. You want to bring that into your world. That's so important. So thank you, Sam. Who else? Let's get one more. It's a good way to get the conversation. Oh, who's that?
Lisa. Hi, good morning, everybody.
There you are, Lisa. Good morning.
Lovely to see everybody. So I actually have a few. Ursula Burns, former CEO of Exxon. Xerox, sorry, not Xerox. Carla Harris, she sings, and she says, I can't go into the Carla Harris who sings gospel music and who is the financial executive show up in the meeting, and it's great. And then Robert Smith, who is the founder of Vista equity firm. Yeah, those are three that I really admire, and just for their also what I really more recently, what has kind of really brought them to my attention more recently has been like their willingness to speak up on how do we actually fix some of the structural things that are historical, and being intentional about like making decisions that actually create solutions in the long term instead of perpetuating things. That's been encouraging.
Yeah, I like another great word, being intentional. We'll talk about that a little bit. It is on the list. I don't say it quite like that, but I like how you put that, because it is about being intentional in what you are doing. That is a great leadership quality. So all of those folks are great examples, yes, of people who are projecting qualities which help them climb up and reach their leadership status. So thank you guys for sharing that. Does anyone else want to share one before we move on? But because I'm happy to take on someone else. You have a burning desire to share, I'm happy to, because again, this is all meant to be interactive.
Denise, it's Desiree.
Hey, Desiree.
Hey everyone. I'd like to share.
Yes, please.
One of the people that comes to mind is my international president of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. She's also the president of Tennessee State University. And when she came into office several years ago, it has been her goal to raise funds for HBCUs. And she's been doing an outstanding job. Every year we have this big fundraising event, and people step up to the plate because it's her goal to ensure that students attending HBCU get an education, get the proper funds that they need. So, as an example, Kamala Harris, Vice President Kamala Harris, went to Howard University. We have so many people that have attended these illustrious institutions, and they are reaching back to raise others up. So I really admire her for doing that.
Yeah. No, and thank you, Des. And you're right. Reaching back to lift others. I wrote a book, $40 and a Brand: How to Overcome Challenges, Live Your Awesomeness. How to Overcome Challenges, Defy the Odds, and Live Your Awesomeness. And I have a chapter in that book called Lift As You Rise. And I write about Prince, the late fabulous singer Prince, a musician Prince, that you obviously everyone knows. And there's a chapter in the book about him because, like some of you mentioned, Desiree, Sam, folks who never forget where they came from, who give back, that is also a great leadership quality. And I love writing about people who don't forget where they came from and who continue to give back. So thank you for that, Des. I am going to go back to sharing my screen. Can you guys see that? Yes. Okay, great. Okay, so we did that. So now we're going to talk about the list. And this list could be like 50, 100 strong, but we're going to focus on a few. So purposeful. There is a strong leadership quality. And people who you guys mentioned all probably have the same quality, which is being purposeful. So what does that exactly mean? They know exactly what they want. They know why they're doing it. They know who they're targeting. They have a mission in mind. They have a clear purpose. They're not out there doing it willy-nilly. They have a plan, and they know exactly where they're headed, and who they're serving. Who they're serving is important to do that. So purposeful is one. And I want to go through this list because I want to give some time, because we have an activity at the end. I want to make sure we have time for the activity, because I want to make sure that you have time to share again, which is what I'm going to ask you guys to do in just a few minutes. But that's the first one, purposeful. They're confident. They're confident. I remember last week, if you were here or you watched the replay, we talked about the importance of projecting confidence. Accomplished leaders, brand attributes of leading professionals includes confidence. Now, this is considered the most attractive personal brand attribute. The most attractive attribute is confidence, because you can imagine when you're projecting confidence, when you're projecting that you feel great about yourself, you have a pep in your step that people can see, they're drawn to you. People are drawn to others who project confidence. And so that's why it is considered a leadership quality. Now, there are a lot of folks who may not feel confident, who aren't projecting confidence. And remember last week, several of you shared that one of the blocks that we talked about confidence that you did not have. I didn't for years and years and years. I did not. My book, I outline it. We talked about it last week. I share when I do my workshops. My background, I grew up in Southeast DC, Southeast DC, but it was not a happy, as far as my socioeconomic status, it was not a happy childhood, because we struggled. I was raised by a single mother with two sisters, and I was a shy introvert, and it was not fun. And I shared last week that when teachers were calling me in class, I would literally start crying in the classroom, because people would look at me and I did not feel confident at all. And I would just kind of just go back into my shell, retreat into my shell, and I would start crying in class, which of course made me the target of bullies, because, you know, kids can be mean. So they see this girl in class with tears streaming down her face. So that caused me stress. And that certainly was not projecting confidence. And it wasn't until I became an adult and I started working and learning the importance of confidence that I started developing it. So I understand when people tell me they lack confidence. I get it. And there are certain strategies that I work through with my clients on how they can get it, how they can strengthen their confidence, how they can build their confidence, which is what I did throughout my career. Now, one thing I will share with you is everything that I share in my workshops, everything I'm sharing with you through this program is what I've lived. What I pour into my workshops, which are authentic because they're who I am, is what I've lived through. So yes, I'm a coach, and I know coaches, that term coaches sometimes gets a bad, reputation. And there are a lot of coaches who are here at Black Professionals Month. So I bow down to coaches since I am one. And I love coaching, and I love sharing experiences that I've lived as a former C-suite executive, someone who started off, as I mentioned, as a shy introvert and managed and learned different techniques to get over my shyness, to build my self-confidence, to go on and work my way up through corporate. And I was talking to someone at Black Professionals Month, I can't remember who it was, that I have the scars to prove it. And some of you will probably know exactly what I mean. I have the scars to prove it. So confidence is another attribute of accomplished leading Black professionals. The next one is think bigger. Think bigger. That is a very, very important attribute. And some of the examples that were mentioned today, they have this. They think bigger. They have a clear and big vision of where they want to go. It isn't one step. They're not just looking right in front of them. They're looking big picture down the road. How can they have the biggest impact? How can they make a big and powerful impact on people, on their target audience? How can they influence in a very positive way their target audience? How can they build a plan that isn't just about them or short-sighted? It's the people who have reached the status of leadership and accomplishments, wherever you are, whether it's your personal company or your company that you've founded and you're building, or whether you work for a corporation, a small business or a big corporation, it's having this idea that you're thinking bigger, you're thinking long-term. That is, and I think everyone who, at least the names I recognize that were outlined a few minutes ago, have this quality, certainly have this quality in mind. Generous. Oh, yes, generous. And not talking necessarily about money. It's about being generous with your time and your talent, sharing what you have, whether it's something that you were born with, that you have natural talent, or whether it's something that you have developed and honed along the way. You're generous with it, you share it, which is what a lot of the speakers are doing for Black Professionals Month. They are being generous in their time in sharing their wisdom, sharing their gems with the attendees, with you. They're being generous, and that is an awesome quality when you talk about leaders who have pushed through, who have knocked down some of these blocks, who have achieved a certain place, a certain status in their careers. These professionals share this attribute in common. They are generous. Okay, next one. Yes, can I get an amen on this one? Ambitious. Research shows that Black professionals are so ambitious. In fact, when you compare Black professionals with other groups, we are the most ambitious. We are ambitious. So that is a leadership quality that when you can not even think about hiding that you let people know this is what you want. This is what you want, and you want to go after it. You want to take advantage of programs like this, other leadership development programs, other career coaching programs, because it's all about reaching your professional goal. That ambition is what drives us. It's what fuels us. It's what keeps us going. It's what keeps us going. When we are ambitious, there are other parts that come to that. You know your why, you have a mission, you have a vision, you have a plan. We talked about that, in one of the other sessions. I talked about a playbook. You have a playbook, and that is so important. So your playbook is an example of ambition. When you can take time to sit down and map out your playbook, and my mainstream, the top tier program, my broader one that I offer in my company, you don't leave that 10-week program without your playbook. And that is something that we need to have. Is a lot of you attendees work for companies, and your companies have a strategy. Your companies have a plan of action, a journey, a map that they follow. We need one for our own careers. And so folks who are ambitious, they have that playbook. They have that map drawn out because it's going to help them stay on track. So ambitious is another quality when it comes to accomplished Black professionals. Curious, yes, we ask questions. We don't sit and wonder and leave a meeting or an opportunity wherever you are without asking those questions that we know is swirling around inside of our heads. We're curious, we ask questions, we go into the weeds and we learn the details of whatever it is. I know for me, coding and getting back behind the scenes of technology, I was curious about that. Like, how does that work? How does that fit together? What makes that do that? Sometimes I make people crazy because I'll ask questions and maybe I should know, maybe it's okay that I don't know. I don't care. The fact is, I want to make sure that I know. Maybe if it's something that maybe people look at me and say, well, Denise, you should have known that. Okay, well, maybe, but I didn't. And I don't. So help me understand. Fuel me with your knowledge because I'm curious about it. I'm curious. There's a certain sense of curiosity or level, heightened sense of curiosity among leading accomplished Black professionals. They don't leave an opportunity without taking advantage of asking the audience, whether it's someone there in person, whether it's something you can read on, your computer, your phone, but you're going in, you're doing the research, you're asking yourself questions, asking other people questions, and you're finding the answers. So you're curious, leading Black professionals. lifelong learners, which ties into being curious. It's never like one and done. You're always learning. I'm always learning. You're always learning. Everyone here, you're here because there's an opportunity that Hutch and I have created for you all to learn more. And perhaps you're coming in and you're saying, okay, I know that, but there's still an opportunity for you to learn something else at Black Professionals Month. And I'm so excited that you're here and taking advantage of that opportunity to learn and to develop and to grow. So lifelong learners, they never stop learning. Some of the examples of the men and women you highlighted are always learning. I will share with you, because I love sharing stories. And I want to hear some of your stories in a couple of minutes when I stop talking, because again, this is all about being interactive, and I'm going to leave this list up. We're going to talk through them. But I remember most of the executive level jobs I've had, well, many of them, I went into industries I had no prior experience in. So those of you who are thinking, you know what, I want to make a shift. I'm on this path, but this isn't fulfilling for me. By the way, I do talk in my workshops, I talk about the difference between being happy and being fulfilled. And there is a difference. And most people, or many people, might be happy, but they're not being fulfilled, which is why I started my company and left corporate, because I was happy, because, you know, money can make you happy. It can, not always, but I wasn't being fulfilled. Felt like I wasn't living my purpose. This, I do feel fulfilled and I am living my purpose. But I would tell you, when I was in corporate, many of my roles, when I went into these industries, I had no idea about the industry, but I had skills that were transferable. So when I was hired as an SVP, I was hired as a senior vice president at Boston Scientific, a multi-billion-dollar global corporation. Those of you who are not familiar, it's in the med device industry, healthcare med device. I had zero experience in healthcare med device, none. The closest I came to healthcare was my own personal healthcare, having a doctor who I would go in, you know, once a year or whenever for my annual, or when I had, you know, sick, when I was feeling sick, or my kids, taking them to the doctor. That was it. But I felt I had the confidence to go into, well, I was recruited, a recruiter reached out to me, but I had the confidence to go out for it. Even though I didn't have all those boxes checked. Remember, those of you who were with me last week, we talked about that research study about men and women who feel like they have a certain number of qualifications checked off a list before they feel comfortable going out for a job. Men, 60%. Men felt like they just checked off 6 out of 10. They're like, yep, I got this. They had that sense of confidence that they didn't have to have all of those qualifications before they felt confident they could apply for the job. Whereas women, we, in this study, we had to check off all 10 before we had the sense, the confidence to go and apply for the job. We were putting that block in our way. We were telling ourselves inside of our heads, no, we can't make this happen. We don't dare go out for this job because we can't check off all 10. I can tell you that I didn't have all of those qualifications checked off because I had zero med device experience, but I went in there confident, exuding confidence, because I had those transferable skills, because it was SVP of Communications and Corporate Affairs. I'd spent years working in that space. Nintendo, Reebok, Adidas. So I took those credentials into my series of job interviews, and I got the job, despite my not having one lick of med device experience, because I wanted to be that lifelong learner. I was on learning before I started working. I was in the computer talking to people, learning about the healthcare industry, learning about med devices. And I did. So I was able to go into this organization at the level with a lot of people reporting into me who had a lot more experience in healthcare and med devices than I did. But I learned it. And so being a lifelong learner is something that will help all of us continue to grow and thrive in our careers. Okay, so before we get to the activity, I want to open it up and I want to have you guys share and talk about any of these qualities, any of these attributes of leading Black professionals generally. And then not about yourself, but generally any thoughts, because the next activity is going to be focused on on you guys. But anybody want to share their thoughts about any of these? And by the way, as I mentioned at the top of this, there are other attributes that aren't on this list. And we talked about some of them. Some of them might, fall into this. And we touched on it, although not specifically last week, about authenticity. Code sharing was one. That's not necessarily on this list, but confidence could be part of that. But anyway, any thoughts about this list?
Absolutely. Denise, incredible presentation. Absolutely impressed. And I'm definitely going to be working with you. The thing that jumps out to me is think bigger. A lot of times within our communities or where we come from, a lot of times we don't think that we can do it. And in order to accomplish something, you have to have a dream that is so big that it propels you forward to make it happen. And people that each of the members on the panel have mentioned have had the amazing ability to think bigger than anyone else has ever thought. So I think thinking big is a big attribute of building a personal brand and trying to do some of the things that have never been done before. If you look at Tesla, when Tesla came out in 2005, people thought Elon Musk was crazy. He had this audacious goal. It was so big that there was no way that it would be achievable. 15 years later, he's one of the wealthiest people on the planet, and Tesla is making a big impact in the automobile industry. We too, in the African American community, can do the same thing, but we have to harness that ability to think big.
Very well said. Tesla's a great example. Musk is a great example because now, and talk about thinking bigger, now he's thinking into space. I mean, can you imagine, as you said, 15 years ago, who knows whether he had that idea 15 years ago, but he certainly had it several years ago. He didn't even let Earth stop him. That's how big of a brain he has. That's the vision he has. And you're right. Think bigger is a really great quality that a lot of professionals who have achieved a certain status have, for sure. So thank you, Sam. And thank you for your
I
comment.
just wanted to, just one thing I can remember my mother-in-law used to, say to me, she says, if you can think it, it can be done.
Mm-hmm. And I'll let other people weigh in, but I'm glad you said that, because so one of my clients, my biggest clients, is the correctional system in Massachusetts. So I go into prisons and I work with inmates, and I get emotional when I talk about this. So forgive me if I get emotional, because it's an emotional topic. And some of you on here, I can see I have a couple clients on here, and so I've been doing it for years. Since I started my company in 2015, one of my first clients who hired MDK Brand Management was the one of the prison systems. And they hired me to take my personal branding workshops into the prisons, because nobody was doing anything like that with the inmates. Because unfortunately, what happens is when you're an inmate, there are certain opportunities that dry up that you simply do not have. So what was attractive about my program, which is why I was hired, and it would start off as one prison system, and then it expanded to several prison systems, because I was able to go in and make a presentation to all the sheriffs who head up these prisons, and several more sheriffs hired my company. But something you said, Sam, a lot of it is mental. And something you said made me remember that a lot of it is mental. So I go into the prisons and I work with the inmates. And the first thing I try to do is I try to get in here. And this is what I do, by the way. I'm using the inmates as an example, but I do this with all of my clients. And I see on here clients, but I go here because it does start here, ladies and gentlemen. Everything that we want to do in our careers, all those blocks I walked through last week, we have the power to push through those blocks. If we started here, if we believe that we have that power, that confidence, if we believe, you may not have it today, because I didn't have it, but there was something along the way. I surrounded myself with people who believed in me, which we talked about last week. And I have a chapter in my book about that. Surround yourself with believers. There's a great chapter in my book. I think it's great. With Beyonce, I had this incredible experience with Beyonce, Oprah, Halle Berry, a couple others. And I talked about that. Surround yourself with believers. The inmates, people who make mistakes, who end up behind bars. First of all, your brand is probably can't be harmed as much as being incarcerated and being a felon and an ex-felon. Your brand is tarnished, it's damaged for sure, but not beyond repair. If you believe that you can achieve certain goals, you can be it. You can do it. Let's not get off track by listening to the negativity, the noise swirling around inside of our head. Get rid of it all. I shared with the group last week that I got rid of. I had so much negativity in my life years ago, so much negativity, so much noise. I pushed it out. So I'm done. And some of these were friendships, but these friendships were toxic to me and they were blocking me. And I was allowing these relationships to block my path. And I got rid of it. I got rid of it. And that allowed me to believe and think. So when I go into these prisons, the first thing I do, and I connect with these inmates who first look at me and are like, what is she going to tell us? Like, how is she going to help us? She don't know what we're going through. Within an hour of working with these inmates, these men and women, it's nirvana, because they open up. And I will tell you, and I'll end with this. I walk out of the room that I'm in. And of course, there's corrections officers around, and there are certain things you have to go through to get into, because it's in the actual prisons where the cells where they're living is within, a few feet of where I am. And I walk out and the corrections officers will say, Denise, can you come here? And they were in their desk, their booth. And they will say, Denise, can you come here for a second? I'll walk over and I say, yeah, what do you need? And I say, what are you saying to these guys? What are you saying to them? Because I tell you, they walk out of your workshops and I just see something so different about them. They smile, they're happy. What is it that you're doing in those workshops that is turning them around? That's turning them around. Because I'm getting in here, at least I'm trying to connect with them in here. I'm trying. And that's what my workshops, that's what this is all about. That's what one of the if you walk away with nothing today, it is believe that you can do it, no matter what has happened in your life, because God knows I've been through a lot. Regardless of that, you can believe that you can push through it, get rid of these blocks and develop, if you haven't developed some of these qualities, that you can do that. Okay. Anyone else? Thank you, Sam, for that. I'm sorry, I went off sort of on a thing, but thanks for indulging me. Who else?
Good morning, Denise. Go right ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, good morning, Michael Woodson. Hey,
Hello.
Denise, I did join late, but one of the things that resonated was that confidence that you talked about of transferring those skills, and the key being that confidence. Like yourself, I've gone through multiple industries across a variety and transferred those skills to move up the ladder. That I can't say enough about that. It all started in college, no computer background, 3 people with a computer background in the interview process, my roommates. I got the job, they didn't. Okay, so it has to do about that confidence that you bring to the table, that attribute of something you said in an interview that connects with that person, of that value that you are someone that is a self-starter, a go-getter, and no matter what, you are going to achieve it. And if you project that, the rest will come. And I'm finding out through my career in multiple ways, and Denise, you can attest how much I have pivoted. So thank you.
Thank you for that, Michael. Yes, you have. Congratulations. Okay, I heard someone else, but I couldn't tell who it was.
It was Zoe.
Hey, Zoe.
No, I was just going to quickly add, when you were speaking about lifelong learners, one thing I do tell my daughter is either you're learning or reconfirming. So never shut it down. Like it might just be reminding yourself of something, or it might be something that you thought about in your head and you're hearing it and you're like, yes, it did make sense. You might not be something new, but there's still always value. So
love it.
Just throw that out there.
Love it. And I'm so glad you mentioned about passing that on to your kids. I have 2 20-something kids, and I do the exact same thing. And probably most of you have older children. Of course, there'll always be children to us. Mine are in their 20s. But you're right. It is about passing on what we are learning to have them, to instill in them the importance of being a lifelong learner. So thank you for that, Zoe. One more thought? Okay. All right. So we're going to have plenty of time, because now we are moving to an activity that I told you was coming. So what I want you guys to do is showcase one brand attribute. When I say showcase, we are going to have you showcase, and I mean showcase. So select one of the brand attributes that we talked about. Then you're going to write a 1-minute monologue, 1 minute. And then I'm going to ask, I say 2, it could be more depending on how much time we have. And you're going to present that brand attribute. Now, here's what I mean by that. And this is what I mean about all my workshops being interactive. This and also my own workshops in my company, because oftentimes, and I've had so many clients say this to me when they come to my workshops and they say, Denise, I'm so glad you made us do that, because I've been wanting to be able to have an opportunity to do that in this safe space, and not do it when I'm actually needing to shine in front of an interview or a client pitch or whatever. This is a safe space where we are now, although it is being recorded and we are going to download them so you can look at it, but still it's going to be a safe space. So I want you to write. Now, when I say write about a brand attribute, I don't mean, and maybe you guys know this, I don't mean to write, I'm going to be a little funny here, but I hope you get the point. Hi, I'm Denise Kegler and I'm confident. Or hi, I'm Denise Kegler and I'm a lifelong learner. You're not going to do that, because if you're in a conversation, one of the exercises I go through in my workshops is I have people write their pitches, and I see Precious is here. So Precious is the killer pitch master. Don't pretend to be Precious, because she is amazing. I love Precious. But in my workshops, I do elevator pitches, and you write elevator pitches and you get up and you present them. And what I say to people is, and there's a quote that I use in my workshops about the definition of personal branding, because a lot of my workshops, I have three pillars in my company. One is personal branding. There are 2 others, but we'll focus on personal branding. And there's a quote from Jeff Bezos that I love, which is, a personal brand is what people say about you when you leave the room. A personal brand is what people say about you when you're not around, when you leave the room. People don't say, oftentimes, most of us don't say what we really think about that person to their face. We don't like confrontation, perhaps, but we cannot tell for sure what people think about us when they talk to us. Now, they're most likely to say something, how they really feel about you when you're not there, when you're behind your back. So how can you influence what people are saying about you? Because you can. I ask the question in my workshops, I'll say, raise your hand if you know what people are saying about you when you're not in the room. I've been doing this, having my company for 6 years, lots of clients. I can tell you that I can count on one hand how many people, the percentage of people who raise their hand and say they know exactly what someone's saying about them behind their back. Why don't we know? So I do work on strategies in my company on how you can do that. But we're going to do a smaller version of that here. Because what you're going to do is you're going to write a monologue, and you're going to project whatever it is you want us to believe about you from that attribute. So if you're writing about confidence, as an example, you're going to present that monologue. You're going to be talking, looking at us in the eye, meaning in that green light. And you're going to be so sure of yourself and confident and project. That's confidence. Now, you're not going to say you're confident, but you're going to project it. We talk about lifelong. Let's say lifelong. I'm going to back up so we can see the list. If you say that you want people to recognize that you're a lifelong learner, you're not going to say I'm a lifelong learner. What you're instead going to say, and this is an example, is I just finished this Black Professionals Month initiative. Wow, I went to like 15 sessions. I met so many speakers. I learned about this and then. So you're going to give examples of it versus saying what it is. And that goes for all of this. If you're Musk, let's say you're Tesla, the Musk guy, and you want to showcase your thinking bigger. You would say, hey, I've got this idea. I'm going to create this company. I'm going to send people to the moon, whatever it is that showcases that you think bigger. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, so you're going to have, let's see, it's 10:44. I'm going to give you 5 minutes. Let's say four minutes. It doesn't have to be 1 minute. It could be shorter. I'm just saying 1 minute. I'm going to give you guys 4 minutes because I want to give time for people to present. So I'm going to give you 4 minutes to write a 1 minute. And you don't have to write it. If it's something you can just say it on the top of your head, although I think bullets and writing it would probably help you. And then I'm going to ask for a couple volunteers. I'm going to stop share. Stop share. You guys are there. I'm going to make you full screen so I can make sure that the recording is getting everybody. All right. So And I'm going to ask you guys when we go through this to turn on your cameras. It was fine because of course you were looking at the PowerPoint, but I'm going to ask you when we come back to turn on your cameras. So I'm going to be quiet. I'm going to give you guys 3 or 4 minutes to write a monologue. Pick one of those attributes. Hopefully you remember them. And then I'm going to say, okay, it's time. And I'm going to ask for a couple of volunteers to present. Okay. All right. So no questions. You can yell and say, Denise, I have a question. If you don't, I'm going to mute. I'm going to turn off my camera, but I'm sitting right here. I'm not leaving. So if you have a question, please do just yell and say, hey, can you come back for a second? Okay.
Denise, can you come back? Can you just remind us what those attributes are? Can you just,
Oh, Michael, I just said I had it up there.
I know, I'm sorry.
Okay. No, I'm just kidding with you. Let's see. I'm going to read them off because I don't want to go back into share, but I'm going to read them off. Okay. So, because I don't want to forget any of them. Okay. So purposeful, confident, think bigger, generous, ambitious, curious, and lifelong learners. Is that good, Michael?
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Thank you.
All right, and just pick one. You only have to pick one. And hopefully,
All right,
okay. And hopefully we'll have a couple that are different. We'll see. We'll see. Okay, and I do want to leave some time for you to ask some questions too. All right, so I'm putting you on mute and I'm turning off my camera, but I'm sitting. Okay, 1 minute, 1 minute. All righty. I have no idea if that was a full minute. Sorry if it wasn't. I didn't start my timer, but hopefully you guys are good and you made some progress on writing your 1 minute monologue, pitch, however you want to phrase it. So with that, it is 10:49. I want to make sure we have time for a couple of volunteers, because again, it's an opportunity in a safe space to present yourself, to project yourself. And then what I'm going to do is, after you project, this is going to be probably, let's see if this works. Because you know what? Say what you're projecting. Because I've done this both ways with my clients. We either guess, but we probably don't have time to do that. You project and then we guess. But I think what I'm going to have you do, because of the time limit, is have you tell us what you're projecting and then do it. And then we'll let you know. I'll ask the other attendees what they thought about it, because this is all about learning, lifelong learning. All right. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, who wants to go first? I love when we get a good volunteer right at the beginning. Oh, yay. I see you. No, who's that? Cassandra?
No, it's Desiree.
Des? Okay. All right, Des. All right. So please, guys, please turn on your cameras, because imagine the person is talking to an audience, and those of you who speak a lot, I know I do, I feed off of the audience. I feed off of it. So please, if you're, unless you're in, you know, you're like not able to turn on your camera, please do. Okay. So Desiree, you're there?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Go
I'm gonna
ahead.
give it a shot. I don't know if it's right, wrong, or indifferent. You guys can let me know.
Okay.
All right. Mine was a toss-up between two things: thinking bigger and generous. Okay.
Yes.
And I'm thinking bigger. Denise knows that my daughter is a resident at UNC Chapel Hill. And when we were going through this process of her applying to colleges and med schools and things of that nature, I found it to be very, very expensive. But we were able to afford it. So I started thinking about other kids of color that may not necessarily have a two-parent household or a parent that could pay for it. So one day I would like to start a foundation to pay for some of those expenses. So that's my bigger, generous piece.
That's awesome, Desiree. Yes, round of applause. And that definitely came across. So if you go, so let's say that you are at I don't know, because Desiree belongs to, tell me a few organizations, but the one I go to, the events that I go to, who is
The
it?
Links Incorporated.
Yeah, Links. And so let's say Desiree is at a Links event and she's mingling with people who aren't that familiar with her. She's going to start a conversation, because maybe it's somebody who she might be able to hit up for some contributions, a contribution to this organization she wants to start. She's going to tell that story, because that's going to be her why. I mean, that's her why, is that her daughter, she went through it with her daughter. Now she wants to be generous, give back, think bigger, and people are going to grasp onto that. They're going to grab onto that. And she's most likely going to walk out of that conversation with some dollars. So congrats, Des. Thank you so much. Who's next?
I'll say something.
Okay.
Okay. It's who? Two of us spoke. Which one got it?
Is that Diane? Yeah, Diane.
Yeah.
Ahead.
That's me.
Okay,
and mine's kind of similar to Desiree in terms of the giving back piece. First of all, I think it's beyond ourselves. I feel a sense of responsibility to give back, reach back, right? Particularly where our young women are concerned. And so in the past 10 years, I've been mentoring young women. And my purpose, I gave it away. My reason for that was because I really, as I looked around at young women today or in the last 10 years, is that they're very different. They're not prepared. They don't value themselves as we used to, and things of that nature. And so as a result, I said, gosh, I got to find, I have to do this, but I couldn't afford the time to do it on an ongoing daily basis. So I found one person through a program called Girl Power that I was able to identify a young woman. It was supposed to be for 12 months, and it ended up being 10 years because she chose after the program to choose me to continue with the mentoring program for that. And so I was able to see her through high school, through college, and it's been wonderful. But for me, it was more about preparing her beyond school, right? Okay, when she gets out of school, how is she going to be treated? How are people going to see her? Is she going to be valued? Will she become the next leading Black professional? Those types of things. And so it's been positive. It's been great. And so much so that I'm looking for someone else now that she's off and doing her own thing. So that's important to me.
That's awesome. Any thoughts on that? Thank you, Diane. What thoughts on that? I forgot to ask about Desiree. Yeah. So thoughts on both what Des and Diane have said. Did you get a sense of what they were projecting? Did that come across? And I know I'm doing this in a very truncated way versus my workshops, my company workshops, but did you feel it? I'm not nodding, yes. nodding. Okay, great. Because that's what this platform is for, is let's help them tweak. If there's an opportunity that they can make their pitch to people, as I mentioned, who could potentially help, then we want to make sure that we're giving them that opportunity. Okay, and then someone else was talking when Diane raised her hand or wanted to do it. Who was that?
It's me, Lisa.
Lisa. All right, go ahead, Lisa.
Hello. Okay. So envision a future that is more sustainable, equitable, safer, and abundant for all people. I believe that the challenges that we are confronting are not really engineering or resource problems, but rather failures in humanity's ability to relate and connect with each other. And that's why I promote diversity of understanding by bringing people who are unlike together to really discover intersectionality and creating spaces and facilitating healing conversations so that we can get to that conversation where we can envision and create, co-create that future that is more sustainable, equitable, and safer and abundant for all people.
Wow. Okay, what do you guys think? What do you guys think? What was she projecting? What was Lisa projecting? Guys, just yell out. What was she projecting? I felt a couple of things in there, but what was she projecting?
Confidence.
Confidence, knowledge.
Purposeful.
Yeah, I was thinking purpose.
Bigger?
Yeah.
Absolutely. As I said, I felt a few things in there, and you're right. And it came out, and that's what's important. And I'm going to ask one more, but as you're working on this, present it to other people. Say what these folks said, do what they did and do it to other people. And say, okay, did that come across? Did you get a sense of confidence from me? Did you get that I'm talking, I want to think bigger or purposefully in this, pitch? Ask people to give you their real unfiltered feedback. And that would be helpful. So thank you for that, Lisa. Okay, one more, and then we'll open up to Q&A for a couple minutes. So 1 minute, one more.
Alrighty, I'll go.
All right.
For me, B5 Reaffirm was birthed with the sole purpose of emphasizing and focusing on self-esteem of females. And so for me, it is so important because self-esteem is fundamental in every aspect of every decision that we make in our life, whether it is relational, whether it's employment, whether it is self. And so for me, I would love to get this program, my program, in the hands to impact 1 million females. And I know it's not necessarily financial for some, but for me, it is about getting the program in the hands of 1 million females.
Oh, good for you. I'm with you, Lisa. Good for you. What'd you guys think? What's in there? What quality, what attribute is in that?
Confidence.
Purpose.
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 Confidence.
Thinking bigger.
Thinking bigger.
Look at you. I'm so proud of you guys. You're getting it. That's awesome. And yes, I got all of that too. Thank you. Thank you, Pamela. Awesome. Okay. So we have a couple minutes. I'm just going to do I'm not going to do my screen share again because I'm opening up Q&A and then I say, thank you. See you next week. So rather than do that, questions, Q&A, thoughts before, because I'm all about being on time. That's my brand. I start on time, I end on time. We have 2 minutes. Zoe.
I have a quick question. Yeah.
Yes, so I got Zoe, and then I have Essie, then I have Lisa. Okay, go ahead.
How or when would you use this statement?
Okay, wait, what are you asking me? How and
Yeah.
when? Which statement?
Yeah, so if we
What you guys just did?
Yeah.
Yes.
Once we've written these statements, how and when would we use them? Would you encourage us to lead with them? Would you encourage us to put them in a certain format and use them in a certain time?
Yes, so it's a good question. So using Desiree and a couple others as an example, if you are at a social function, a conference, a business function, and you're having a conversation with someone who you said, oh, okay, that person, you found out maybe some background or you knew this person, maybe they had money, maybe they were in a similar situation as you were in, personal and professional. And you were looking, let's say in Desiree's case, she wants to start her foundation, but she needs some seed money. She wants to make sure that she gets it out there to start raising money. She would use it in that situation. She wouldn't lead with it per se, because there would be, we just did the middle piece in this exercise. But for instance, in my workshops, I do the whole thing. And I see a couple of my clients on the session, I'll take you through the whole thing, the beginning, the middle, and the end. This is really the middle of it. And it does depend on the audience. So in Desiree's case, yes, it would be, if she's looking for money, she would do it in that environment and she would use it in a way that could hopefully get some money for her program. Thank you for that. Essie, hey, good morning.
Good morning. I guess my question is around balancing confidence with being cocky, because especially of being people of color, sometimes when we're more assertive, then people will turn that into being aggressive. So like, how do you find that balance, or are there exercises to build confidence without coming off as someone who's cocky or arrogant?
Great question. Excellent question. And you're right. We sort of get, we get labeled when a certain way versus someone else who says the exact same thing and does it the exact same way we're doing it. They're ambitious, we're aggressive. They're this, we're that. And so, yeah, there are some exercises, there are some strategies you go through. But the first thing I would say now is to get that out of your head. Don't think about it, don't worry about it. Get it out of your head and believe that you are there for a reason. Believe that you are projecting these qualities of confidence, because that's what you are. You're not being cocky, you're being confident. And there's a way to do it. Certainly there's a way to do it, but you have to get the first thing I would say for sake of time is to get the negativity and the noise and the doubts out of your head and go for it, because enough people are going to see you as being confident versus being cocky. One more. I saw someone else. I said someone else's name. Oh, Lisa, you had a question. I think I said your name. No? Okay. Anyone else? One more.
I just wanted to add, and that is, I think that all the attributes are great, and I think they are right on point. But I think that, particularly when you start talking, whether it's one-on-one or a group, that it's important that you're able to read the people that you're speaking to, that you're not talking over them, or that they're actually understanding what you're saying when you say it, right? And being able to adjust to be able to communicate in a manner that they're understanding what you're saying. Because otherwise, it's falling on deaf ears. You may have been talking to yourself. And so I think that's very key, whether we're talking to a large, presenting to a large group, a large audience, or just one-on-one. And usually you can do that by direct eye contact, right? They start looking away or they start looking down. And so I think it's important, another important feature, attribute to consider.
Yeah, totally agree. Reading body language is critical. It makes these virtual events a little challenging, which is why I say turn on your cameras if you can, but I absolutely agree that reading body language helps as well. Okay, I know we have more questions, but it's 11:01. And so I am going to let you guys go. Thank you so much for being here. I so appreciate you giving your time to being here with me. I hope to see you next Saturday, same time, 10 a.m. to 11 o'clock. We have another exercise. We're going to get you all involved next week as well. Okay, so with that, have a great Saturday and hope to see you guys Sunday. So tomorrow we have Hutch's session at 9 a.m. I think there was another session today though, but please look at the calendar on the website, because even I sometimes don't know where all the sessions are because they're changing, but I believe there might be another one today. But to go to the website, look at the schedule, and then you would use a second link that you got in my email today or yesterday. All right, so with that, thank you for being here, ladies and gentlemen, appreciate you. See you next week. Bye.